We've now created over 3 million jobs since it took office, more jobs than have ever been created in the first 5 months of any presidency in modern history, thanks to the incredible work of the entire team. This is historic progress, pulling our economy out of the worst crisis in 100 years.
Today, the president outselling the good news in the June jobs report. Another 850,000 jobs were added during the pandemic recovery. But the White House knows that there is still a major economic struggle across the country for millions of Americans who have not been able to find their way back into the workforce. Joining me now, NBC News White House correspondent Kelly O'Donnell, Jen Palmieri, former White House communications director in the Obama administration, and former Republican National Chairman Michael Steele. Kelly, first to you. The president's biggest tasks when he took office were combating the pandemic and getting millions of Americans back to work. Well, he's missed the target on vaccinations, but he's done an extraordinary job. They all have. You know, they promised a certain number by July 4th. They're not going to make that. And getting people back to work, that's on track. What are you hearing?
Well, the president emphasized the good in Good Morning when he came out to address reporters today and the country about these jobs numbers, emphasizing the right track as he sees it. And he blames, or rather gives credit to, as presidents get to do, they get to take credit when the jobs numbers are good, for both the policies on the economic side as well as their strategy in dealing with COVID, Andrea, because he is saying that the outreach for vaccinations has made it possible for more people to get back to work. And he talked about how that is still an ongoing mission. He described this as being very positive, with more work to come, of course, but he cited this as being a robust start, with an opportunity there for him to push for some of his other economic ideas that have yet to get through Congress. But he believes that some of the rescue effort that was passed, that was early in his administration, is fueling some of this return to work. The president was in a good mood about the jobs picture, and when reporters asked about some other topics, including Afghanistan, he said he didn't want to talk about, quote, negative things. He wanted to focus on the positives, especially going into this holiday weekend. Of course, presidents don't get to choose the questions that come their way, especially when he's commander-in-chief. But on jobs, the president has a good story to tell right now, and he was trying to promote it today. Andrea?
And does that, though, Jen, let me ask you and Michael also about if they talk up the economy, which is certainly improving, and we're seeing that also the IMF gave America a great report card on that, and how that is going to affect the world economy. Does that hurt your ability to argue for the infrastructure spending and for this crisis, Jen?
Right. So no White House wishes for bad job numbers ever, no matter what.
Of course.
No matter what the circumstances are, even if you want to make sure that Congress feels pressure to act, so this is a good day for the Biden White House. I think, in terms of the dynamic you describe, I think there's two things that help the Biden White House. One is this just sort of proves his theory is working, right? So the good job numbers does. So I think that helps his credibility with the American people. It helps his credibility on the Hill. But, as you noted in the opening, there are significant problems still in terms of getting people back to work, in terms of people feeling that they are able to go back to work because of lack of childcare, training, still vaccinations. If your child is not vaccinated, that's still a problem in terms of you getting into the workforce. So there is still an unmet need. Something different has to happen. And I think that's what the Biden administration will argue in terms of wanting to pass the human infrastructure bill, which would get at some of these problems.
Michael, what is your prognosis regarding both of the infrastructure bills as they head into the August recess not too long from now, and now going into July 4th recess? They don't have a whole lot of time left to even get legislative language started. And they've got it's almost like a seesaw of how to handle the moderate Democrats on one hand, House and Senate, and the progressives on the other. And then you've got, all those Republicans.
Yeah, I think to both Kelly and Jen's point, the Biden administration is in a much stronger position than certainly a lot of Republicans narratively want to acknowledge. And so I think what the president, through his language, how he talks about this recovery, how he talks about even the ongoing efforts, even we're falling short on COVID-19, hitting that, 70% of adult Americans having at least one shot. Okay, he's out front on it. So he sets the narrative before the narrative gets to overtake his issue. or where he wants to go. That will help him. So I think, to your question, he's going to get a piece of what he wants, whether it's the infrastructure or the roads and bridges, or the human infrastructure, healthcare and daycare and things like that. He's going to get some of each of those, I think, because the narrative is working. The American people are behind him, and the numbers are beginning to back that up. So if you get another 850, 900,000 jobs next month, for the month of July, you get more COVID relief in terms of vaccinations. You've got states that are now beginning to see the economics working for them. I think Biden is in a good position to go into the fall when the Congress comes back from their dizzy summer of fun while he's working to actually make the case for pieces of both of those big infrastructure projects.
Kelly O'Donnell, Jen Palmieri, and Michael Steele of Happy July